Good morning, everyone. Hello on this Thursday morning. How's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello. So today I'm going to be doing some doodling on my art quilt. Just making sure that the live is working correctly. There we go. We switched over. There's quite a delay between when I actually go live and when everything switches over, so that's sometimes confusing. Hello, good morning, everybody. So yesterday afternoon, I spent some time adding more green and purple to my background color that we did yesterday. So this is where I'm at, and I'm happy with that. I went in 2 more times with the ink tints and just added more green and purple to the background. It still has the label on. Today we're going to take the label off. But before we do that, we're going to do some doodling with some fabric markers. I'm going to leave the label on there so that it still stabilizes the fabric so that I can draw on it really easy. And then I have a scrap piece of batting. This is just an 80-20 batting, and I have a scrap piece of fabric for the back. This is going to be a temporary back as we do some thread painting. When we're finished with this quilt, it will get a pretty little back on the back of it. Hello. Lisa, you have a bright white background? That's weird. Mine is black. So that's what we're doing today. So if you're watching here on Facebook while we're live, feel free to join in the conversation if you're watching this video on YouTube, because there's been a lot of confusion. Facebook is my safe place to go live. It's much more controlled, and I am more comfortable with doing that. And one of my goals this year was to be more active on my Lisa Capen Quilts page on Facebook. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it is a replay. I would love it if you come over to Facebook and come to Lisa Capen Quilts Facebook page and follow along. You can check the notifications to make sure that you get notified when I go live here on Facebook. Hello, everyone. Yes, I have some free time this morning. This afternoon, I'm going to be cutting the horizontal sashing pieces for the t-shirt quilt behind me, so I figured we could have some fun and play along in this art quilt this morning before I start doing that. If you haven't gotten a copy of this, you can find this in the Creative Crew group in the file section, or if you're watching this on YouTube, if you open up the description box below, you'll find a copy of this here if you want to play along and make this fun little art quilt. I think that's all of the logistical things out of the way. Jerry says, I think I'm going to couch mine first. Yes, you could do that. You could certainly do that. There's no rules. Do it however you want to. It's your quilt, and as long as you're having fun, the process really doesn't much matter, right? Yes, okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and switch some screens around. I'll bring you to where you can see the art quilt. We're going to jump right in. I don't really even have a plan for this. I sound muffled this morning. It could be my morning voice. Let me turn the volume up just a little bit. Maybe you can hear me better. Nope, the mic is not covered. I just turned it up a little bit. Maybe you can hear me a little bit better now. Hopefully. It could just be my morning voice. So let's go ahead and switch the screen around. There we go. Let's put that in the screen. There we go. So what I have is just an assortment of fabric markers. These are the Marvy fabric markers. There's different tips to them, different thicknesses. I don't even know that I'm going to use all of these. And then I do have a Sharpie pen as well that has a really fine tip, and we might use that. So I don't really have a plan for this. We're just winging it and gonna do some doodling. Okay, I'm good, Angel. I'm glad, Angel, that maybe turning up the mics helped a little bit. Connie, you're so funny. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Yeah, let's go ahead and begin. Like I said, I don't really have a plan. We're just going to go with the flow with this. Let's see here. Well, we can pretend like we're doing some free motion quilting and just come in here with some doodling like this. If you ever want to practice your free motion quilting, grab a scrap piece of paper and a pen and do exactly what I'm doing here before you even go to the sewing machine, because it's really all about muscle memory. And once you get the motion right, then you can just transform that right over to the sewing machine with your needle and thread. So how is everybody doing? I just ran to Food Lion real quick because we have the great big snowstorm of 2020 coming. I exaggerate. We're supposed to get maybe 3 inches, a dusting to 3 inches, and tomorrow it's supposed to melt and go away. But I had to make sure I was stocked up on my candy supply before then. So I think that's pretty. Let's add some circles in there. Now, of course, this is what I'm doing to my little art quilt. You don't have to do this. You could do whatever you want with your background. You could even just skip the fabric markers and do all of this doodling with thread in your sewing machine. I think a pretty metallic thread would be gorgeous if you doodled with that in your sewing machine. Who likes working with metallic threads? Jerry, that would be a great big snowstorm where you are. Sometimes, some years we get a lot of snow, and some years like this one, we get very little. This is one of our little snowstorm years. But they've already salted the roads, which makes me think that somebody knows that we're getting more than what the weather is saying. Maybe I'm just making up a little conspiracy theory, but yep, the roads are salted. I wonder, since I'm doing all of this doodling, how I'm actually going to quilt this. If I'm going to actually quilt everywhere that I've doodled, I don't know, we'll see. If so, I'm making quite a job for myself. So I'm just filling in the background with some doodling, having fun. I think that's kind of pretty, right? Lisa, it's not showing up on your computer. Go to Lisa Capen Quilts Facebook page and then refresh it, or close down Facebook altogether and see if it doesn't come up that way. Good morning, Belle. How are you doing? I'm just doing some doodling this morning. And here in a second, we're going to take the label off the back of this quilt. And then we're going to glue down the batting and a temporary backing. The backing that I'm going to use is just going to make it so that I can move this around on the bed of my sewing machine a lot easier, and do some thread painting and some quilting. And then once we're done with that, I will be putting on a pretty backing. This is a fabric marker, a Marvy fabric marker. I have a bunch of them here, and I do have a black Sharpie pen as well. These are all different tips, and I'm not quite sure that we're going to use all of them. I just wanted them close by in case I wanted to use them. They'd be here and I wouldn't have to search for them. It's on the main page. Yay, you found it. What size is the fabric? This is a little bit bigger than 8 by 10. I will be trimming down all the raw edges around it. And when this is finished, no, I said 8 by 10. It's more like, right now it's probably 9 by 13. When I trim it down, it'll probably be like an 8 by 12. It's a little bit bigger than the fabric label that's on the back. And I usually make these little art quilts a little bit bigger when I'm working with them so that I can trim them off nice and pretty when everything's done. So all of these raggedy edges will come off. What is the difference of the fabric marker versus the Sharpie? Well, I do know that, oh, I'll put the lid right here. I do know that these fabric markers, once you follow the directions on the packaging, I think these you just let them sit for like 24 hours, and then you can wash your quilts or your shirts or whatever you're marking, and it doesn't fade. I'm not quite sure if the Sharpie, even though it's a permanent marker, it might fade if you wash it. I'm not quite sure, but this little Sharpie is tiny, tiny. Let's do a couple circles right here so you can see the difference in the tip. See how fine that is? So if you wanted to do some really detailed work, you could bring in a little Sharpie pen like this. And this one is old, so the ink in it is not flowing as great as it would if it were new. And with an art quilt, I'm not worried about it fading anyway because I'll never wash this, right? So if you wanted to doodle with something like this, you could for really fine details. What is a fabric label made of? Linda, are you talking about this? This is just a full-size address label. Is that what you're asking? We're getting ready to pull that off here in a second. And it's been on there a couple of days, so I think some parts of it are probably going to be stuck on there, but that's okay. You'll never see it. It's going to be in the middle of this quilt, and you'll never see it. But most of it should come off pretty easily. We'll see here in just a little bit. But you see how it stabilizes the fabric? I can draw on it, and there's no wrinkles. Let's put a little flower right here. The fabric is staying put. It's not shifting around. My little flower is going to be like a hunt for the flower. Do you spy the flower? I don't really have any plans. I'm just doodling this in. Is it paper? Yes, it's just a sticky paper label, just like you would print your addresses on to send the things out. Good morning, everybody. Freezer paper would work, however, sometimes when you're drawing and painting and things like that, the fabric lifts off of the freezer paper. So you could do it if you want to, just know that that sometimes tends to happen and you have to keep pressing it back down. All right, I'm not quite sure what I want to do in all this, so let's call it done for just a minute. Let's go ahead and take the label off the back, which in some parts is going to be pretty simple like this. I think when we get into where we glued, it might stick a little bit, but that's okay. Yes, Bill, it makes it look like a coloring book page. The awesome thing is even if you can't draw, the doodling, you just, it doesn't have to be pretty. Once you fill in all the areas, it looks like you know what you're doing. Yes, thank you, Stacy. It's just the shipping labels. It's the same shipping labels that I put on the back of my fabric when I'm printing. If you've seen any of my printing on fabric, any of the newer videos, then it's the same label. It's also the same exact label that I used when I did the demonstration of how to transfer images to wood. And at Christmas time, we did that little sewing machine box. It's the same label that I used for that. Now this has been on there for how many days? Three or 4 days now. And so it's really bonded with the fabric, and especially everywhere where I glued down the yarn. The places where I didn't use the glue, it came off pretty easy. But if we don't take it all off, it'll just act as a little stabilizer when we do our stitching, so I'm not really worried about it all coming off. I could be really persnickety and sit here and pick all of this off, but that would take a while. And I think I'm going to call it good with that. So you see how much came off? All the places where I really used the glue and the Paisleys, that's really where it stuck. I'm good with that. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. And next I have just a scrap piece of fabric. It's nothing pretty. It's just going to be a back while we do the free motion work and quilting of this quilt. A pretty back will go on this art quilt once I'm all done. So where's my little glue stick? I'm just going to run some glue. Right on this fabric. I'm going to put my batting down. This is just a scrap piece of 80/20. I'm going to press that right into the fabric. And then I'm going to take the back of this art quilt, even with all of that label stuff on there, and I'm just going to put some glue all over the back. This will act like pins. I'm not going to use any pins to base this down. We'll flip that right side up, right in the middle. And I'm just pressing that right down to the batting. Now because I have my yarn on this, I'm not going to press it to dry the glue. I'm just going to let it sit. I'll probably put some books on it so that it's nice and flat and all that glue is touching something. And we'll let this air dry for a good long while before I ever stitch it. And I don't want to stitch it without you. So this will just be sitting and air drying. When I bring this to the sewing machine, all that glue that I just put on these layers will be nice and dry, so the glue's not going to mess up my sewing machine whatsoever. It'll all be dry. So that's where we are. I'll probably come in and fill in some of these areas. I might not. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. But if I do, it'll be off camera and I'll just be doodling the same way that I doodled with you in this video. So this is where we are with this quilt. I might need to add a little bit more glue to this corner. And lay some books on there so that it dries nice and flat. So yes, the next time we meet, we will be doing some quilting and some thread painting. And that should be fun. Again, I don't really have a plan for what I'm going to do with the quilting, but we'll see when we get there. So 80/20 batting is a good stable to have. Yes, I save all the clippings from doing my quilts, And this is what I use them for, little art projects. You could make quilted pillow covers, all kinds of stuff. So I always save the bits from my quilts because they come in handy for small little projects like this one. Linda says she likes it as it is. The green looks fine as it is. Yeah, I might not do anything with that. That's kind of pretty, right? Trying to move it in the camera like this. There we go. We'll just leave it like that for a second. Belle, ordinarily I would heat set it, but because I did the yarn first, I really don't want to touch the iron to some of these yarns. Some of them are synthetic, and I don't want to take a chance in melting them. So I'm not going to heat set this at all. It's an art quilt, and I'm never going to wash it. And so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. The colors will stay nice and vibrant from the ink tints. Again, I'm not going to wash it. If you were doing something like this and you knew that you were going to wash it, or you were going to take this panel and put it into a quilt, then yeah, you'd want to heat set it. And if that's the case, I would hold off on putting any yarn on it until after you heat set it. Because this is just a little art quilt that's going to be hanging up on the wall somewhere, I'm not worried about heat setting it. So yes, this is where we are. I wonder, does that show up more blue today, or is that starting to look more purple? It could be the light in my room too that changes the color on the screen. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that's pretty. Pretty little abstract Paisley art quilt. So if you're making this, I would love to see your pictures. An easy way to share them would be on the Creative Crew group, because you can load pictures and everyone can see them really quickly there. Or if you use any of these techniques and make your own design of an art quilt, we'd love to see it. It looks purple. Yay! Hi, Amy. I don't know if I can do a closed caption on Facebook. I know there's an option to do it on YouTube. I can check about that because I'm going to upload this to YouTube if it loads. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll go back and change them to closed caption. I think there's a little box that I can check off so that it'll do that. I will look into that, Amy. Okay, let me make a note so that I don't forget, because I do have some free time today. Closed caption. And I will go look at doing that. I don't know that I can do it on Facebook, but on YouTube I know there's an option, and so it might be better to rewatch the videos there where I can turn that on. Yay, it looks purple, violet. Yay, good. All right, y'all, so this is where we are. We're going to let this dry, and because I'm not bringing an iron to it, I'm just going to let it sit for the rest of the day. Tomorrow I'm having a tooth pulled, so I don't expect that I'll see any of you live tomorrow. Maybe we'll come in this weekend and do some thread painting with this little art quilt. Quilting, thread painting, whatever you want to call it. Yes, let me go ahead and switch this screen back over. I hope you all have a fantastic afternoon. And yeah, I'll take a picture of this because sometimes it shows up better if I do that. And I'll put that on my Lisa Capen Quilts Facebook page. So yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching the replay. Feel free to comment in the comment section down below. And if you're on Facebook, I'm really starting to be more active live over there. YouTube, every once in a while. The Inkscape videos I do live over here. But yes, there's no set schedule. Whenever I have free time, I'm popping in. It's random. I really can't commit to doing anything on a schedule except for the Creative Crew Tuesday night live chats. So I know many of people have asked, what is my live schedule? I just can't commit. I cannot commit to a certain day, a certain time, except for the Creative Crew group. So it's all random. Come over to Facebook, make sure you set your notifications to all, and you'll get notified when I'm live over here. Oh, Connie, you watch the replay. Do not stop your life to catch me live. Watch the replay, girlfriend. Thank you so much. Yeah, another tooth. That's okay because I'm working on getting a partial, y'all. So that's what I'm doing. All right, y'all have a awesome afternoon. I am off to let this dry and start cutting some little 2-inch by 2-inch squares for the t-shirt quilt. I'm going to also, Amy, I'm going over to YouTube right now, check in a little bit later, and hopefully I can figure out how to turn on the closed caption. I hope I can do that. You're right, I just don't, I cannot make the full commitment. All right, y'all, have an awesome afternoon. I'll see y'all really soon. I'll keep an eye out for y'all on the Creative Crew group. Have a great day. Bye.